Hey everybody, welcome back to Cup World Series. I'm your host Pete Thron, also the author of End of Tour. This episode is going to be about my first shooting that I was involved in. I probably had about 3 years on the job, and my partner and I were working a 4 to 12, and I had a suspect against the wall on 120th and 2nd Avenue. He was in possession of 3 vials of crack, which was a misdemeanor. About 15 seconds later, when I placed the cuffs on him, I heard several shots going off down the street, maybe near 3rd Avenue. And then the radio went off, and a 2-5 precinct was screaming that they were in pursuit of a blue Toyota that had fired shots at them. And they were heading down 120th Street towards 2nd Avenue, exactly where I was. So I quickly uncuffed the guy that I was arresting. When an officer is arresting somebody for a misdemeanor, they have the discretion of letting that person go. So I told the guy, "Get out of here. You got a nice get out of jail free pass today." And I was leaning against a brick wall when I saw the headlights of the blue Toyota heading towards me. And I had pulled my gun out. The Toyota took a hard right. The driver of that vehicle, the window was rolled down, and he actually leaned over his window and fired 2 shots in my direction. And one of the bullets actually went past my head, and I could hear the whizzing of the bullet. It hit the wall, and some brick hit the back of my neck. I punched my weapon out. I fired 4 rounds off at him. 2 of the rounds that I fired hit the mark of the driver's door. And right after that, the 2-5 precinct was gaining on them, and they were firing their weapons at them. So obviously the driver was firing in the back of him, trying to get away. And it probably was about 15 shots fired in a matter of seconds. The driver of the vehicle, of the Toyota, he took a hard left into the left lane and cut across 2nd Avenue and took a wild left onto 118th Street. He was traveling way too fast to take that turn, and he flipped his car. They flipped the car several times. I cut through an alleyway on 119th Street. It was across an abandoned lot. My partner gave chase in our cruiser down 2nd Avenue to 118th, following the 2-5 precinct car. As I was running across the lot, an abandoned lot back in those days, it was littered with brick from abandoned buildings, broken bottles, cars were in there, broken down cars, I should say, and a lot of discarded heroin needles. So just maneuvering through that lot was dangerous, because you didn't know if something was going to stick into your leg, maybe a needle or a broken bottle, anything. When I got halfway through the lot, I could see the suspect's car was on its roof, and I saw 2 male Hispanics wiggling on their backs to get out of the car. They made it out of the car, and they actually lost their shoes from the car being flipped so many times. So they were running on, not barefoot, but socks. And the driver spotted me running across the lot, and he went to fire on me. But I let off 2 rounds before he got a chance to let any rounds off. He just turned. I missed my mark, unfortunately, but he turned, and they both jetted towards 117th Street in an alleyway, and they made their way to 116th Street. They got themselves into a building, and they forced their way into a apartment on the 1st floor, where they took a family hostage. Luckily for us, a neighbor on that floor heard the screaming in the apartment and called the police, where we were able to call emergency service, which is the SWAT team for NYPD. Within a half hour, they had broken down that door and apprehended the two suspects who were hiding in the tub of the people's apartment. They took them into custody, and we went back to the scene where the car was. And inside the car, we recovered several weapons, several guns, money, and a bag of cocaine, rope, duct tape, 2 tasers, and black ski masks. Both of the suspects were dressed in all black. After everything was cleared and we were cleared of the shooting, where it was deemed a good shoot, upon investigation, when we were talking to the suspects, what they said was they were ripping off drug crews in Washington Heights. What they didn't realize is they were ripping off cartels, the factions of the cartels of the Mexican and Cali cartel. And they're just lucky that we caught them, because if the cartels had caught them, they would have been tortured for sure and killed, and possibly even their families would have been killed. This episode is really to explain that when a police officer is working and in a split second, they can be involved in a shooting. And most shootings will happen anywhere between 10 and 12 feet. That's not a long distance. And the officer only has a second to react. Shootouts with police officers aren't like the movies. There's no retakes. Whatever action they take, that's it. There's no pulling a bullet back. It's a very stressful situation. It's stressful for anybody, even the military. It's being in a shooting is it brings out the surreal point of that event. And what I thought about when I was in my shooting, the first shooting, was it wasn't the fact that I was shot at. What it was is when I returned fire and I saw the flame come out of my weapon at night. That's what really hit home for me, because at that time I wasn't wearing a vest. I didn't like the way my bulletproof vest felt. It rubbed up on my neck, and I felt like I was being choked. But from that day on, I did wear a vest when I was in the field as a uniformed police officer. I didn't when I was in plain clothes working undercover details. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please be safe with the coronavirus. Keep the social distance like they're telling you to, and keep your gloves on when you're shopping, and obviously wear a mask, and just stay safe. And if you like this episode, hit the like button and the subscribe button. And if you get a chance, take a look at my book. It's on Amazon and on Apple Books, and the name of the book is End of Tour. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you soon with a new episode. Be safe.